Hello everybody, I'm Salif. This will be the one-shot entitled A Vigilante's Day Off by Silver Roses and Dragons on AO3. This is part 4 to the series entitled Shadow Sensei, the Vigilante Heroics Teacher. Summary. Hitoshi invited Izuku over to play video games. Cue bonding. Hitoshi pulls the corners of his lips up as he opens the door, hoping the small smile looks natural. He's not used to showing his emotions on his face unless they're really strong, but he thinks showing that he's happy will help Izuku feel more comfortable. "Hey, come on in," Hitoshi says, stepping to the side. Thanks, Izuku says. He toes off his shoes and looks ready to proceed in his socks. But Hitoshi stops him. "We pulled out an extra pair of my old house slippers that you can use, since your feet are a bit smaller than mine," he says, gesturing to the slippers. It's not entirely true, seeing as the slippers were never his, but Dad and Papa think that telling Izuku they bought them for him will be too much right now, so Hitoshi goes with it. He doesn't really agree because he thinks they should always be honest, especially with a kid coming from a less than ideal situation. But he'll trust his parents on this because it's something so small. As Izuku puts on the slippers with muttered thanks, Hitoshi continues. "I should warn you, Papa is expecting you to stay for dinner. He has a thing about feeding people. I swear he can't let anyone who visits our home leave without at least giving them some refreshments or some kind of homemade snack." That part he doesn't have to lie about. Papa is always more domestic than anyone would think, considering his loud, somewhat carefree personality. "Oh, okay." Once the slippers are on, Izuku just stands there, not making eye contact with Hitoshi, but not fidgeting either. "So, we were gonna go play games, but if you don't end up liking the ones I have, we can do something else," Hitoshi says. He gestures for Izuku to follow him to his room. "And if you don't mind, maybe you could give me some tips for the sports festival before you go?" Izuku seems to perk up at that. "Oh, yeah, of course. You'll, have to tell me more about your quirk, though." "Sure. Maybe after we play around. I have a new partner survival game I think you might like. I also have Hero Smash if you want," Hitoshi offers. Izuku shrugs, then looks around Hitoshi's room as he opens the door. Hitoshi sets up the monitor and controllers, letting Izuku take in the dark colors of his room, cat decorations, and random present mic merch that Papa gives him. After a minute, he says, "So, what do you want to start with?" Izuku is still looking intently around Hitoshi's room, but turns around when the older boy speaks. "Oh, it doesn't matter. Maybe the hero game?" "Alright," Hitoshi says, putting the right game disc in. "It's easy. We each pick a hero, and then use the controllers to have them fight each other in different settings. It's based on a pre-Quirk game called Super Smash Bros." Izuku nods. He takes the controller Hitoshi hands him, and looks awkward as he sits on the end of Hitoshi's bed. Hitoshi lets Izuku pick a hero to play first. He doesn't pick All Might. Most newbies go for All Might because they don't know that it's harder to control, and frowns at the fact that there's no Racerhead. He picks Midnight instead, and Hitoshi picks Present Mic, because he does that sometimes. It's funny. Hitoshi explains what all the controller buttons do, then starts the game. They've already played a few rounds when a racer checks on them. "Hey kids, you need anything?" he asks, leaning against the doorway. A great ball of fur slips past him through the doorway, distracting Izuku from the game and making him lose quicker. Izuku shakes his head. "We're good, Dad," Hitoshi says, turning away from the game now that he's won. "What's up?" "Nothing. I just woke up from my nap and thought I'd check on you. I'll leave you to it, though." "Actually," Izuku says, holding out a hand for the fur ball's inspection, Hitoshi wanted some advice for the sports festival. Could you maybe supervise so he can show me his quirk? He's proud of the fact that he doesn't stutter. He's feeling more comfortable here after playing with Hitoshi for a while, and he always feels more comfortable with Eraserhead. You want me to use my quirk on you? Hitoshi asks, and Izuku can hear the surprise in his voice. When he turns to look at him, the other boy's eyes are wide. Izuku shrugs. Yeah, it'll help me understand how it works. I'll give you a list of acceptable commands. Okay, so you ask me a question, and when I respond, you can brainwash me, right? Izuku asks. They're outside, where there is a small training area in the backyard, with Hitoshi's dad watching them. Right. Do you have to activate your quirk before you can ask the initial question? Or does any question meet the activation requirement? I think I have to activate it first. I hadn't really thought about it. Hitoshi admits. Is that something he should have been thinking about? Izuku shrugs. Alright, we'll come back to that later. Right now, I want you to brainwash me. Are you sure about this? Hitoshi asks, putting his quirk into his voice. He lets Izuku get out a quick yes, before he takes control and Izuku goes still and blank. Hitoshi doesn't realize how much Izuku is constantly moving until he sees the other boys still. He runs through the short list of commands Izuku gave him to use, including things like taking a step in a certain direction, jumping, and speaking. The last one doesn't work, but Hitoshi didn't expect it to. Once he's gone through them all, he releases his quirk. Izuku blinks a few times as if he's waking up, then he beams at Hitoshi. Whoa, that's so cool! It almost felt like I was sleepwalking, or maybe dreaming. Now, the biggest problem with your quirk is that it works best if people don't know how it works. It's not a big deal for your classmates to know the activation requirements, but the sports festival is broadcast to all of Japan and streamed all over the world. Your dad hasn't had much trouble with people recognizing him, and he won the sports festival. But it's always a possibility. And the sports festival is even more popular now than it was then. So basically, we need to find a way to hide the activation requirement of your quirk. Doesn't that seem dishonest? Hitoshi asks hesitantly, but Izuku shakes his head. You want to be an underground hero, right? He asks, and Hitoshi nods. Then this is about your safety. And as an underground hero, you can't be completely honest. You wouldn't be able to do your job that way. I know people may have made you feel bad about your quirk in the past, but it's a great tool for underground heroics. You just have to keep it a mystery for it to be the most effective. Hitoshi takes a deep breath, then nods. He knows that Izuku is right, but there is still voices in the back of his head telling him that hiding his quirk's activation requirements is something a villain would do. Okay, how are we going to do that? Hey, Izuku, would you come to the sports festival? You helped me out so much, and you'd be able to take notes on all my classmates. Hitoshi says later, as they're waiting for dinner to be ready. Izuku blinks, blue screening for a moment, before he waves his hands in front of him. Oh, no, I don't have that kind of money. Tickets are really expensive, and it's next week. I doubt there are any tickets left anyway. I mean, you could use one of my tickets. Izuku pauses. Huh? What does that mean? Why would Hitoshi have tickets? It's not like he needs them being a student. Every student gets 2 free family and friends tickets for whoever they want to be there to cheer them on. Both of my parents are already going to be there working, so no one is using them anyway. Hitoshi says, and I'd like you to come cheer me on, quietly. Oh. Izuku blinks. Then, I guess I could, if you're sure. I'm sure. Izuku beams at the purple-haired boy. Thank you! Alright, everybody, that concludes the one-shot entitled Vigilante's Day Off. Please make sure to check out the Discord if you haven't already. If you would like to get updates easier, get connected with people within the fanfiction community, make requests for a podfic, and more. The link to the server will be in the description. Now, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for listening.